The air inside the Maple Ridge High School auditorium was thick with anticipation. Rows of parents and students shuffled into their seats, programs flapping like butterflies as people whispered and scanned the lineup. The school's annual spring talent showcase had always been a big event, but this year something felt different. Quieter, expectant, like the crowd was holding its breath. Backstage, under the dim hum of fluorescent lights, Emily Carter sat motionless in her wheelchair, her trembling hands folded tightly in her lap. The blue velvet curtain in front of her might as well have been a wall of stone. Beyond it lay the spotlight, the one she had dreamed about since she was a little girl. But she had never imagined it like this. Not seated, not broken. She could feel the air thickening in her lungs, every breath a shallow attempt to find calm. She told herself over and over, "You can do this, you can do this," but it felt more like a whisper in a storm. Her body wasn't cooperating, her fingers refused to stop shaking. Her chest hurt from holding back emotion. A large hand settled gently on her shoulder. "You're gonna be great, Em." She looked up into her father's eyes that had held her together in the worst moments of her life. Jack Carter, a man made of denim and calluses, towered beside her like a tree she could always lean on. "I'm scared," she whispered. "That's how you know it matters," he said, his voice soft but steady. She gave a weak smile and looked away, toward the curtain. Beyond it were hundreds of faces, some waiting to cheer, some waiting to gawk, some waiting to pity. That was what she feared most, the pity. Just a year ago, Emily had been the girl everyone watched because of her voice. A voice so crisp, so full, it stopped conversations mid-sentence. She was the captain of the school choir, a lead in every musical. People used to say she was going places. Broadway, maybe. At the very least, college on a scholarship. Those days felt like dreams she no longer had permission to dream. A year ago, she had legs that danced. She was fast, on the soccer field, in the hallways, even on the stage. She could twirl in her solos, dip into a bow, leap into a final note. All that changed in a moment. It had been a simple night. Ice cream with her best friend Mia, who had just gotten her driver's license. They were singing in the car, windows down, carefree and loud. They were supposed to be home by 9. It was 8:47 when a drunk driver barreled through a red light. The impact was like thunder. Metal crushed. Glass flew. The world turned upside down. Emily woke up 3 days later in the hospital. The lights were too bright. Her mouth tasted like plastic tubes and salt. Her mother was asleep by the bed, clutching her hand like it was the last thing anchoring her. And then the doctor came in. He said words she couldn't understand. Spinal cord, irreversible, T6, paraplegic. "You're lucky to be alive," he said. She wanted to scream. She wanted to run, but her legs wouldn't move. The days after that were a blur of tears and sterile rooms. Visitors came and left. Balloons arrived, then deflated. Cards were read once and then tucked away. Emily didn't want any of it. She didn't want food. She didn't want a mirror. She didn't want music. Her room, once filled with sheet music and playlists and humming, was silent. Her vocal cords were as still as her legs. Jack didn't push her. He just stayed nearby, always within reach, but never asking for more than she could give. He brought her favorite smoothies. He built her a new ramp at home. He rearranged the furniture so she could get everywhere without asking for help. At night, when she thought no one heard, he would sit in the garage sanding wood endlessly. It wasn't for any project. It was just to keep his hands moving, to grind out the ache in his heart. 3 months after the accident, on a rainy Thursday night, he found her sitting alone in the living room. The lights were off. Her wheelchair faced the window, the rain drawing lines down the glass. He walked in quietly and sat on the couch beside her. He didn't speak at first, just watched the storm with her. "You remember that song you used to sing at bedtime?" he said finally, voice soft. She didn't answer. He cleared his throat and began to hum. It was broken at first, like a man stumbling over memory, but the tune began to form, simple and sweet, one they had sung when she was a little girl afraid of the dark, her head tilted slightly toward him. "You still remember it," he said. She looked down at her lap. Then, barely audible, her lips parted. The sound came like the first drop of rain after a drought. Gentle, shaky, but real. They sang together that night, softly, barely above a whisper. The lyrics were broken. Her voice cracked. His was terribly off-key, but something in the room shifted. For the first time in 3 months, the silence wasn't pain. It was peace. From then on, they sang every evening. Sometimes one song, sometimes 4. She wouldn't admit it, but she looked forward to it. It was the only time she forgot her body. Her voice didn't need legs. Her voice still worked. Jack sang everything she did. Old 80s ballads, show tunes, pop hits, Disney classics. He was a terrible singer, but he did it with such joy that she laughed until her ribs ached. Her voice grew stronger. Her laugh came back, not every day, but enough. So when the spring showcase was announced in March, her music teacher, Ms. Rayner, left a space blank on the sign-up sheet, just for her. Emily passed the list in the hall but didn't write her name. She stood there staring at the sheet for a long time. Ms. Rayner approached her. "I saved you a spot," she said. "I'm not ready," Emily replied. "No one ever is," the teacher said, "but the stage hasn't forgotten your voice." That night, Emily didn't eat much dinner. Jack noticed. "You saw the list?" he asked. She nodded. "You're thinking about it?" "I want to," she admitted. "But I don't want people to look at me and feel sorry. I don't want them to hear my story instead of my song." Jack set his fork down and leaned forward. "Then sing in a way that gives them no choice but to listen," he said. "Make them forget everything else." Emily stared at her plate. Then with a quiet voice she asked, "Will you sing with me?" Jack blinked. "You want me on stage?" "I need you there." So they chose the song together, "You Raise Me Up." It was a little on the nose, they both agreed, but it was perfect. Jack would back her up just like he always did. Rehearsals began the next day. He built a mini stage in the garage with a small ramp so she could practice rolling up to center. He even borrowed a stage light from the community theater to get the lighting right. Every afternoon, they rehearsed. Sometimes Emily cried when her voice cracked or the words reminded her of what she'd lost. Sometimes they laughed until their stomachs hurt, especially when Jack hit the high notes and sounded like a dying rooster. Word spread in school. Some students raised eyebrows, others murmured, but a few began showing up at rehearsals. Mia brought posters. "Emily's got this," in glitter and neon. The night of the showcase arrived. Backstage was packed with performers and chaperones, hairspray in the air, nervous teenagers adjusting their costumes. Emily sat quietly, staring at the curtain. Jack knelt beside her and adjusted her mic. "You ready, sweetheart?" "I'm scared." "That's how you know it matters," the announcer's voice boomed. From the speakers, "Up next, please welcome to the stage Emily Carter." The curtain lifted. A spotlight found her. The auditorium fell completely still. She rolled forward, hands steady on the wheels, her dress catching the light like ocean waves. Her hair was braided down her back, a single white flower pinned behind her ear. The microphone waited. She took a breath and sang. The first line was soft, barely audible, like the breath of someone returning from a long journey. But with each word, her voice found strength. She lifted her eyes. "When I am down and, oh, my soul so weary." The room leaned in, no coughs, no whispers. Phones lowered into laps, just her. At the start of the second verse, Jack walked slowly onto the stage. People whispered. He knelt beside her, took her hand, and sang with her. "You raise me up so I can stand on mountains." Their voices blended, not perfect, but full of heart. A girl who had lost everything. A father who refused to let her fall. As the final chorus approached, Jack looked at her. "You got this," he mouthed. Emily took a deep breath, eyes closed, and sang with everything she had. "You raise me up to more than I can be." The last note soared into the rafters. Silence. Stillness. Then, a single clap, another, and another. The entire auditorium rose to its feet. Applause thundered. Whistles, cheers, tears. Emily blinked, stunned. Jack leaned in. "You did it," he whispered. She turned to him, smiled, and for the first time in a long time, she felt whole. After that night, the video went viral. People from around the world reached out. Invitations came from news shows, music therapists, hospitals. But Emily didn't care about the views. She cared about one thing. She had her voice back. She sang at charity events, at schools, at fundraisers for spinal injury research. She sang for little girls in hospitals, for old women in wheelchairs who mouthed the words along. One day, a letter arrived in the mail from Montana. The handwriting was crooked. "Dear Emily, I just had an accident too. I can't walk. But I saw you sing, and now I want to sing too." Emily framed it. 10 years later, Emily stood again, with the help of robotic braces and her father beside her. They sang "You Raise Me Up" once more, this time at a national gala. And when the song ended, the audience again rose, not out of pity, but because they had witnessed something greater than a song. They had witnessed love. They had witnessed strength, and above all, they had heard her voice.